So we define this package in two parts. First, prevention and restitution. So first, I'll talk about prevention. We've proposed legislation to help curtail gift card scams. Gift cards are one of the most frequently used payment methods for fraud criminals. According to the FTC, consumer-reported scams involving gift cards as a form of payment led to losses of $228 million in 2022. Con artists have latched onto gift cards because they're so convenient. Criminals prefer these because they're easily available and most have high load limits. Now, let's review just quickly how these scams work. You might receive a phone call about a financial matter. It might be that a utility is going to be turned off, or it might be a call that seems like it's from the IRS and you owe them money. And the way that you can take care of this issue very quickly is to go get gift cards. Then you read the numbers on the back of the gift cards to the caller, and the next thing you know, they've got plenty of cash and you're out of some cash. Or it might be the one that I continually receive. It's an email, and it looks like it's from a person I know or an organization that I'm familiar with. And they ask me if I could do them a quick favor and go out and purchase 10 gift cards and mail it to them. It turns out that retailers either have inconsistent or sometimes non-existent policies for spotting and intervening with consumers around these issues. So the proposed legislation would require retailers to prominently post and maintain signs near the cash registers and near the gift card stands to warn customers about gift card fraud. This legislation would limit the number and dollar amount of gift cards that can be purchased at one time. It would encourage that people make these payments on a credit card rather than cash, because then if it turns out this is fraud, you can more easily track those purchases if you did it on a credit card. And then to limit purchases and the activation of gift cards to a cash register that's staffed by an employee, not the self-checkout. Next on our list, and you're going to like this one, is the issue of robocalls and spoofing. Now, some work has been done on this issue, but we hope to further restrict robocalls in West Virginia and spoofing, and hopefully stem the tide of these types of calls. This legislation would ban calls generated from automated systems that simply select phone numbers and then prohibit playing that recorded message when the call is connected without the consumer consent. It would also prohibit spoofing. That's where it looks like you're receiving the phone call from somebody you know or an agency that you know. And prohibit placing calls or sending text messages outside the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., among other protections. And last on our prevention list is what we call unfair real estate service agreements. Now here's what happens. An unscrupulous real estate broker will approach a homeowner. And of course, they often target the older and lower income individuals. And they offer a small cash amount, it's usually less than $1,000, maybe $500 or $800, for the homeowner to sign an agreement that if they decide to sell their home, they'll use that agent or that company. Now, what the homeowner doesn't realize is this agreement can be up to 40 years. It automatically places a lien on the home. And then for the homeowner to get out of this, they either have to pay a huge fee to cancel or they can't transfer the home to their heirs. Several other states have passed legislation on this, and we hope West Virginia will be the next. And now to restitution, the second part of our package. Currently, there are few viable options for recovering money lost to scams. Now, because of this, sometimes victims won't report the scam, and sometimes law enforcement will be reluctant to prosecute because they think, what can we do? This also prohibits us from accurately tracking how many people are scammed. As I said, some people don't report it when they've been victim of a fraud. Securities fraud is a serious problem. Older investors are at higher risk of becoming victims and, of course, have a harder time recovering. You can imagine if you lose your life savings at age 78, you're not going to be able to recover all that. And the highest financial losses from scams reported by the FTC happens to be through investment scams. So this past legislative session, AARP West Virginia worked closely with the West Virginia Securities Commissioner's Office, which here in West Virginia happens to be out of the auditor's office, to enact legislation that would create a consumer securities fraud restitution fund to help scam or fraud victims recover somewhat financially and encourage reporting and then prosecution. And AARP West Virginia is determined and looks forward to again collaborating on this important legislation for 2024. I'm pleased to say that we have worked with legislative champions on this entire fraud package over the last several months, and we feel optimistic. Nothing's ever certain, but we do feel optimistic. And in closing, I wanted to mention that we have done good work on these issues here in West Virginia. I think it's important to point that out. But we want West Virginia to continue to be on the forefront of protecting all West Virginians, you and me, but in particular, our older and more vulnerable citizens. Those individuals could be our grandparents, our aunts or uncles, our loved ones, those individuals who represent our history, our legacy, and our tradition. Their safety can be in our hands. Also, I'd like to point out, since Secretary Carmichael brought it up, that no, West Virginia hasn't completely eliminated the tax on Social Security, and coincidentally, our members think it's important that we do so. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.